Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today is the 12th of March, 2021. Alright everyone, considering it is the 12th of March, you know what that means? It's the anniversary of Black Thursday. So this was one of the worst days in the crypto market's history, if not the worst day. Bitcoin fell, I think 45% in a day. I think ETH fell a bit more than that in a single day. Now, in crypto, we're used to these drawdowns of 30, 40, 50%, but normally not that fast, right? It usually takes a little bit. I mean, we just had a drawdown of 37%. For ETH, from I think it was 2K to 1300, but that was over a week, right? So you can imagine that happening kind of more than that, up to I think it was 47% for ETH in a day. That was scary, right? And I mean, the fact that we've come so far since then as well. I mean, you can see here on the chart. Basically, a year ago, just above my head here, we basically fell in one day from $200 down to $100 in one day. So yeah, basically, I guess a 50% dip there, which was just absolutely insane. And then obviously since then we've gone up to, we went up to 2K, which is a 20x from there. Now we've settled at around 1775. So almost an 18x. Now, just in a year, which is absolutely crazy. But I mean, I did want to kind of zoom in on the chart here to March 12th back then. And, it's funny because you can see here that, we kind of we're in 2019, we're still in that bear market, right? And then ETH kind of double bottomed around kind of here in the, I guess the $110 mark. And then it started moving right up again, right? But then, around February, I think, of 2020, people started kind of taking COVID a lot more seriously, right? It was becoming a thing okay, this thing's serious. It's everywhere. It's people are dying, right? And all this stuff was happening. And then, the markets kind of went sideways and they started going down, right? And this was not just crypto. This was the global markets, right? Then sideways a little bit more. And then March, I think, is when it really kicked into high gear, where everyone was all the, countries around the world were pressing the oh shit button, right? Close all the borders, all this sort of stuff, which was quite crazy. And then, yeah, from, I guess, the kind of 7th of March here at $250 to the 13th of March went down to $90. So, within 6 days here, we fell a lot, right? But you can see the structure is just pretty incredible, right? I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, we would have, the bull market, I mean, obviously still continued, but we would have just been able to delete this whole section here. Basically from about February 15th to July kind of 25th. Until I guess it got back over, the previous high here. We could just delete all that and still be on the same kind of trajectory here, because of the fact that we were still in a bull market, which is quite insane here. But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to talk a little bit about how I felt on kind of Black Thursday back then, and kind of I'm sure you guys have your own memories of it. But for me, I was kind of talking to a bunch of friends about it, and we were watching it go down, and we're watching the global markets as well, and we're holy crap, what's going to happen, right? We didn't expect it to fall like this, but it did. And, you guys know me, I'm an ultra perma giga ETH bull or whatever, right? I'm always bullish on ETH, always have been bullish on ETH. I mean, all during the bear market, I was still bullish on ETH. And, I didn't care that the price was low. I was so bullish on ETH. I'm just going to keep buying, and eventually it's going to go back up. And obviously, all the people that thought that were right. But for the first time in my life on March 12th, I was bearish on ETH, right? I actually thought it was going to zero, because it happened so fast, but you couldn't really have time to collect your thoughts. So as it was falling, I was holy crap, this is actually going to zero. You had that kind of thing for a few minutes. It wasn't something that persisted, but it was until I collected my thoughts and was just okay, what's happening, right? This is crazy, And then I kind of looked at this and I'm this is more than blood in the streets, right? This is just absolutely slaughtered. Everyone's washed out, right? All the leverage positions are absolutely wrecked, because one of the major reasons why it fell so fast, or at least the major reason why it fell so fast, was because of cascading liquidations, especially due to BitMEX. Kind of they had an issue there where too many positions were being liquidated at once, which obviously kept triggering more and more liquidations, and the price kept falling, and you just had that kind of snowball effect there. But once I collected my thoughts, I was ETH's back at $100, right? It hadn't been back at $100 since basically, I guess, what was it, December 2019. That was like 4 months prior, and then it didn't really last that long either. And I was buying here as well, but then I thought like, look how far we went in February. Like we went like a 3x from here almost in February. And I'm like, I know the market's still bullish. Like, even though, there was so much uncertainty around COVID, I was like, the crypto market structure has changed. Like, this kind of price rise here is not something we saw during the bear market, besides, I guess, over here in mid-2019. And that was actually attributed to the Plus token Ponzi pumping up a lot of this. And this was also a kind of like bull trap, like a massive bull trap. But this was very different, and the market felt very different. So for me, I was like, okay, all the money that I had, like, available at the time, I didn't have much because I was still buying ETH, like, over here. I didn't have much spare fiat. I just kind of bought ETH here. But that didn't mean I was just, like, hyper bullish on ETH and thought it was just going to go straight back up or whatever. But from a long-term perspective, I was still like, nothing's changed. Like, the fundamentals didn't change, and then I kind of, over the next few days, kind of even thought about it more. And I was like, okay, well, if COVID's going to shut the world down, if everyone's going to be stuck at home, and if everyone's going to be, embracing a more digital life, then won't crypto go up because of that? Like, crypto is like totally digital, right? And I wasn't the only one thinking of this. There was everyone talking about this at the time. Eventually throughout 2020. But yeah, that's kind of like, I remember distinctly one of the earliest thoughts I had and why I doubled down specifically here. But even though I bought like here, it didn't go back up to the prior high until July, right? So that was still quite a wait there. And I mean, you can see here that most of the movements kind of happen like, it's funny because like ETH likes to go sideways for a while, then move up. I mean, you can see here, I guess if I kind of like zoom in here, ETH went sideways from like April till July, pumped up from like 235 up to like almost 500, came back down, went sideways till like November again, right? And then kind of like went up, not as, it didn't explode up here, but it went up nicely. I think it kind of followed Bitcoin up here, but basically, yeah, went to like 730, and then we exploded up again, almost at all-time high, and then we kind of went up there, and now we've kind of been like trending sideways. I mean, it's funny because like you have the kind of same patterns playing out all the time. I'm not going to spend too much time looking at the charts, but I think it's incredible how far we've kind of come from here. And, on the anniversary of that date, people were saying, oh, we're going to crash because it's the anniversary and everything, blah, blah, blah. And I never thought that was true. Maybe we kind of dumped here because people were anticipating it, right? Like dumped like the most recent dump that we had. I don't think that's true either. I think we were pretty overheated, especially Bitcoin. Without a kind of major dump here. But, bullish selling, right, as they like to say. But anyway, I'm not going to do like a whole technical kind of analysis chart here. But yeah, if you did get liquidated or anything during kind of Black Thursday and you kind of lost your money or lost it all sort of thing, I hope that you were able to rebuild your position. I hope that, you were able to kind of like get through that. I had a couple of friends who did that and that was a dark time for a lot of people, right? I mean, I personally don't trade with much leverage, so I wasn't affected by that. But still, even if you weren't on a leverage position, seeing your net worth kind of evaporate was crazy. I mean, I saw my net worth go from whatever it was at the time, which is a lot higher than than it was during 2019, to basically back to bottom of 2019 levels. And I was like, wow, like that was fast, that came out of nowhere. But yeah. Anyway, I'm not going to say happy anniversary here because it's not a happy anniversary, but I think it's always good to kind of look back at, a year from, a pretty major event in crypto and see how far we've come. The fundamentals are stronger than ever for ETH, right? I mean, there's no doubt about that. Basically, we have layer 2 scaling going live this month. DeFi exploded in growth since March 2020. We had eth2 go live. I mean, so many things to be bullish on. NFTs. I mean, geez, I'm going to talk about NFTs in a sec. But yeah, just so much bullish stuff going on. And, I mean, it's crazy. I don't know how anyone can be bearish at this stage. But yeah, we'll see where the market takes us. So speaking of NFTs, I'm sure you all saw this by now, but I did want to talk about it. So Beeple's Every Days, the First 5,000 Days piece on Christies, which is an auction site for art, kind of like different art pieces, sold for $69 million. It was actually $60 million when I first checked, but then got corrected to $69 million later. But I think 9 million of that is actually a fee for Christies, which is quite a nice fee. But yeah. So anyway, it sold for $69 million, which is just absolutely insane. This makes Beeple the third, I guess like in terms of like living artists in terms of like the value of their artwork. Beeple's like third. So I think there's two other artists on there, but they're not digital artists that sold pieces for more than Beeple did. But Beeple just becomes the third. And for those of you who don't know, Beeple is a 3D designer that has been doing these things called everydays for 13 years or over 13 years, where he does a piece of digital art every day. He has a massive Instagram following, over 1 million followers on there. I mean, he's been posting stuff about Ethereum and NFTs for a while now. And it's just crazy to see that this sold for so much money, right? I mean, people are always going on about, NFTs aren't valuable, it's a bubble, and, this and that. And I mean, maybe it is a bubble, maybe some of it's a bubble. I mean, I think there's a lot of things that are going to hold their value. I think Beeple's are one of them, because Beeple actually was one of the first kind of, I guess, non-crypto people to start doing NFTs. And he hasn't just come in like as an opportunist and just done things for the money, even though he's made a lot of money. He's kind of put a lot of effort into it as well. And, he's been doing this design stuff for a very long time. So yeah, though, like, I do get people's kind of hesitation here when they see, $69 million for a piece of digital art. That's absolutely insane. And, when you think about it, yes, that's a shit ton of money, right? That's especially for like one person. But I think at the end of the day, NFTs are valued on a variety of different factors. One of the biggest factors is kind of like the scarcity of the piece. There's literally only ever going to be one of these pieces. I mean, I'm pretty sure Beeple's not going to mint another one of these, considering that he would just devalue the kind of I guess value of the rest of his work. So, but in saying that, if he did print another one, it still wouldn't be this one, right? It would be like another kind of one that everyone knew came after it. So this would still be the original, right? And, Beeple NFTs aren't the only thing going up. Like, CryptoPunks are still going up, for example. I mean, the Alien Punks that I spoke about sold. Another one today sold for $7.5 million, which is absolutely insane, right? But CryptoPunks were the first NFT on Ethereum, so that's huge in of itself, right? And, they're very scarce. There's only 10,000 of them. Probably actually less now, because some of them have been burned. Some of them have been lost. So I don't think... Like, I actually put out a tweet out before that I think there's going to be trillions of NFTs, right? And I said there's only going to be 10,000 punks. But to extend on that, there's going to be trillions of NFTs. And if we're just talking about, like, I guess, like, collectible NFTs, like art and in-game items, not other NFTs, like insurance policies and stuff like that, most of them, pretty much almost all of them, are going to be, not going to hold their value. They're going to be worthless, right? People are going to mint them, people are going to buy them, and they're not going to be long-term valuable, because they just don't have the, culture behind them, the community behind them, the significance in terms of like when it came into the space, scarcity, right? All these sorts of things. And maybe they're just not great NFTs. Maybe they're just like crappy stick figures or something. I don't know. But basically, if you aren't kind of like investing in the NFT space, and I mean, this is an investment advice, but in general, I would just write off any money you put into it, because like you're basically making a bet that you think this piece or this kind of art or this collectible is going to be worth more in the future, and it's actually like, it's a much bigger bet than just betting on like a token or something, right? Because of the fact that you're betting on, I guess, a lot of the times you're betting on the artist. You're betting that the artist becomes big, and because you bought one of their first artworks, it's going to be worth more in the future, right? With Beeple, that's the risk, because Beeple's already big, right? And by buying it now, I mean, maybe you overpay for it. I don't know. Maybe this person overpaid by paying $69 million. I don't think so, but and then a lot of the other Beeple NFTs that are out there actually started going up in price as well, because everyone's just like, well, if this piece is worth 69 million, then all these other things should be worth, a lot more than what they are right now. And I'm sure he's going to release other things as well. But in general, yeah, if you're in the NFT space right now and you feel like you're missing out on FOMOing and being like, wow, I should have bought CryptoPunks back in the day. I mean, there's a reason why you didn't buy CryptoPunks back in the day, right? It's because they weren't worth much. So if you're only buying it now because it's worth a lot and you're getting FOMO, I mean, maybe rethink that. But in general, I do think CryptoPunks are going to hold their value long term for the reasons I kind of mentioned before. But I just, it's hard to invest, right? Because I do think some of the values of these things are inflated up due to the wider crypto market being hot, because a lot of people got like, wealthy off of crypto recently and are kind of diversifying that, or wanting to spend some of that on these art or like collectibles or stuff like that. But still, it's hard to say, right? I'm not someone who's an expert on this or anything, but I have a lot of people asking me about it, and I think the NFT space is going to get absolutely insane. I don't think it's probably in a bubble, but who cares, right? I think there's just so much untapped potential here and so many things left to create. I've spoken about kind of like the scaling coming to NFTs as well, with Immutable X launching soon. That's going to unlock even more kind of stuff you can do with NFTs. So yeah, I would be cautious about like what you buy, what you invest in. I would basically only invest as much as you can afford to lose, because it actually is a lot harder to sell NFTs as well, right? There's not like a Uniswap pool that you can go to and just sell your NFT into. You have to find a buyer for it. Like, I know there's index products where they kind of wrap a bunch of NFTs into something, and then you can kind of get liquidity that way, and that's a kind of good solution as like an index product. But if you have like a one of one piece, like this Beeple, for example, you can't sell this unless there's a buyer, right? There's no Uniswap pool for it, there's no liquidity for it, there's no market makers, there's nothing. There's, hey, I want to sell this, and then people will come along and kind of bid on it if they want it, or maybe no one comes along and bids on it because it's just not worth anything to anyone. So that's where kind of like the danger comes into it, I think. But yeah, I guess like this Beeple thing is just going to so much headlines. I mean, there's already been articles written about it. It's going to bring in so many more people into this space. I actually can't believe like how much NFTs have blown up. And in hindsight, it's pretty obvious why they blew up as much as they did. But the fact that we have like a actual kind of mainstream vehicle now for people to come into crypto with is just absolutely amazing. And I'm really, really bullish on not just NFTs, but like the people that NFTs can bring into this space, and like the capital and the talent is just going to be absolutely insane. And there hasn't been something this bullish in a long time, I think. So Ryan Watkins from Messari put out this really interesting tweet today where he said, "The American dream may be dead in America, but it's alive and well on Ethereum. There are a few places in the world with as even a playing field and as much opportunity to create generational wealth. And the best part is that Ethereum is accessible to everyone on Earth." Now, I think over the last few refuels, or on one of them, I spoke about kind of this concept of Ethereum's kind of openness and like extreme openness. I think it was yesterday actually, about the generations thing, where a lot of young people kind of like feel disenfranchised by the existing systems. And the American dream for them is dead, right? Because the American dream was this concept of, back when I guess like America was like a younger country, you'd go to America and there'd be like all these wealth for you to have, like you'd be able to create a business and kind of like, build wealth for yourself and your family, buy a house, like buy a big, nice house, right? Be relatively safe, compared to where you were coming from, and all these sorts of things. That really isn't true these days, right? A lot of pretty much all the major cities in America, or at least most of them, are extremely expensive to live in now. The boomers own most of the wealth, as I explained yesterday. The institutions, the politics, they're all controlled by the same kind of players. It's all the boomers, right? So young people just do not feel like they belong there. But in Ethereum really doesn't give a shit about your age to start with, right? But if you're a young person, you're at a massive advantage because you are, one, you grew up with technology, as I explained yesterday, and two, you are more inclined to accept new kind of technologies because you're young and ambitious, and you're more inclined to take more risk. So that dream is alive and well in Ethereum, and as Ryan notes here, the best part is that this is available to everyone on Earth. So and from where they are, that people don't have to move. Like to experience the American dream, you actually have to move. You have to uproot your whole life from where you were to move to America to hopefully get a better life. And this wasn't the only kind of a kind of like instance of this happening. I mean, Australia has like a ton of immigrants. We're a nation of immigrants. Like a lot of them came from Europe. I mean, my family background is Italian. So, my grandparents came from Italy to Australia to seek a better life. But they had to leave behind all their kind of like siblings and their family and everything like that. Which was obviously really, really shitty. But with Ethereum, you can literally be anywhere in the world, stay with your family, stay where you want to stay, live where you want to live, right? And still get the benefits of being part of this kind of revolutionary new economic system, revolutionary new kind of like human coordination system, and all that sort of stuff, and directly invest in it from wherever you are in the world, right? All you need is an internet connection and a piece of hardware, whether that be a laptop or a mobile phone or anything, and you're good to go, right? Even if you haven't got fiat on-ramps in your country to get crypto, I'm sure you could find someone that'll pay you in crypto, or you can go online and go to Gitcoin or something and complete some bounties and start earning crypto. So that, and then, if you want to trade that crypto for stable kind of dollars, you can trade into stable coins and stuff like that. So, all these sorts of opportunity available to you within Ethereum and the wider crypto space from anywhere in the world. I mean, that's just amazing to me. Like, for me, I love living where I live, and I've thought about moving before, to other kind of like places around the world, and I kind of think to myself, why? Like, why would I do that? Why would I uproot my whole life? For what benefit? Everyone's online anyway. It's not like I have to go and live somewhere specific to be close to like where people are in crypto. And whenever I want to go to conferences, I can just travel, right? Maybe not now with COVID times, but in general, like I can just travel to these conferences and then just travel home. For anyone who's ever been to Melbourne, or if you kind of live in Australia, you know how amazing, this country is, but I'm not going to go on about that. But still, like, I'm sure a lot of you live, in different countries around the world, like whether that be like the Europe or the US or in Asia or wherever, right? And you probably love where you live, right? And if you don't, you can still move. But the thing is, Ethereum doesn't move, right? Ethereum is always there, no matter where you are in the world. So that, to me, is really, really special, I think. And actually, I kind of like, after I saw this from Ryan, I put out this tweet here, basically, and I wrote about this in the Daily Gwei newsletter today, but basically kind of like going through how the Ethereum is like a digital nation that maps, there's a lot of properties that map to kind of like things that we experience in the real physical world. So, the protocols on Ethereum can be considered cities, right? Like the city centers where everyone goes to, like Uniswap, Compound, their own cities, Aave, all that. The suburbs are like layer 2, right? Because the cities are obviously expensive, but the suburbs are much cheaper, much more scalable. Most people live out in the suburbs, and that's what layer 2 is. The citizens are Ethereans. We're all Ethereans. We're part of the Ethereum ecosystem. We're all part of the Generation E that I spoke about, I think it was yesterday. Our currency, our native currency is ETH, right? We use ETH to do everything. We use ETH to pay our taxes, aka gas fees on the network, right? And the financial system of this network is DeFi. The culture is NFTs, of course. And our passport, which actually I should have said bank account here, is our Ethereum address. And this is all decentralized, all self-sovereign, all self-custodial, and accessible anywhere in the world. I mean, honestly, like, how can you see this and think that Ethereum isn't just going to take over the world, right? I don't get it. Like, it's just 1,000 times better than what we have today. Like, just DeFi is like 10,000 times better than what we have today in the traditional system. And it's just when I do these analogies and when I think about them deeply, it just makes me even kind of more bullish on the ecosystem. And I know I say that a lot, but God, it's hard not to be bullish, right? I mean, I wouldn't be doing all this stuff on the Daily Gwei if I wasn't this bullish about Ethereum. But yeah, I mean, if you want to read more about that, you can go in the Daily Gwei newsletter. It's in the description below, and kind of like read today's piece to get a bit more of an overview there. So Philippi put out this tweet today where he says, Ethereum miners, we will 51% attack Ethereum to protest EIP1559. And then he's got Vitalik, and then he's got a picture of quick merge via fork choice change. Now, basically what he's saying here is that Vitalik posted a new post here. Basically, what did he say? Basically going through how we could do a quick merge, like merging eth1 into eth2, and then kind of like before this was posted, actually there was a PR, a pull request opened on GitHub or on the Ethereum GitHub section for the eth1 to eth2 merge, and basically going through like the spec that they're basing this on, which is a spec called the executable beacon chain, which has been around for a while now, since November 2020. And this is basically the direction that they're going to take to do the merger. And then it's just got like the steps they're going to take here, which I thought was really bullish, right? And, I mean, I've spoken about the miners before. I'm not going to go on about them today because I think they're the ones disliking my videos, by the way, but I don't know for sure. But every time I talk badly about miners, I get dislikes on the video. So on that note, you should like the video, please. But anyway, yeah, so this kind of like quick merge, I guess, that Vitalik wrote about is taking the concept of this, but just doing it like in a faster way, right? Like if we kind of really wanted to, we could do the merge like much earlier than we have planned for. But I would still err on the side of like, let's just do it like in not a proper way, but in like the best way that we can, and not I guess like rush it out there just for the sake of it. As I've said on the refuel before, I think that we can get to the merge by the end of this year. If not, early next year. And, once that's done, I mean, that is the vision, right? Because we'll have layer 2, this month. And by that point, we'll have layer 2, like, basically be a bustling ecosystem. And then we do the merger, and we basically have like get rid of proof of work. We have 1559 in because that's going in July. We have proof of stake, just securing the network. We have very low issuance. Which, I mean, it all just comes together, right? And I think sharding is also being worked on in parallel here. So then when we get sharding, we basically have massive scalability unlocked there for layer 2, because layer 2 can use the shards as what's called data availability layers, which increases the scalability up to hundreds of thousands of transactions per second, potentially millions of transactions per second on layer 2. And that's like the full vision. So we are maybe a year and a half. I wouldn't say that. Maybe 18 months, I guess, like at most. But I would say we're realistically a year away from having the kind of like full vision of what we wanted with Ethereum, right? We have ERP 1559. We have the layer 2 ecosystem finally being built out. We have the merge done, so we get rid of proof of work. That, to me, just signals that, like, I mean, I was saying it before, ETH is so undervalued right now. Like, I say it a lot on Twitter, but it just, I mean, I said today, I put out a tweet, I was like, it pains me how much, how undervalued ETH is considering all the fundamentals that are going on right now. And, maybe the market's just being inefficient. I don't know. But yeah, I just think it's worth paying attention to the merge because it might happen sooner than you think. But yeah, for now, I will leave it at that, and I'll keep you guys updated on how it progresses there. So austingriffith, everyone's favorite Ethereum builder, put out a Optimism App starter pack today. So it's basically at this blog post here, and this is for developers. It's from Adam Fuller, actually. I don't know if it's from, maybe Austin kind of like helped him with it here, but basically Adam has posted this on Medium, and basically it's for developers to get started building on Optimism using this tool called Scaffold-ETH, and it's basically a guide on how to do this. So if you're a developer and you want to check out how to play with Optimism, which is obviously the layer 2 scaling solution, then this is for you. So I'll link it in the YouTube description and you can go check it out. So dannyryan posted his eth2 quick update today. This is the 23rd one, but he renamed it to Finalised. So it's called Finalised number 23. And the reason for the rebrand is that I guess they're being the researchers are trying to push this kind of like nomenclature around Ethereum's kind of consensus layer versus its application layer. So what this means is that Ethereum's consensus layer is, TLDR is like its proof of stake consensus, right? So once the merge happens, the application layer, which is what we know as eth1 today, will basically be secured by Ethereum's consensus layer, what we know as eth2 today. But I like this terminology for people in the ecosystem, but I think in general, it's just kind of like, doesn't mean anything to people outside of it. I think using the terminology of eth1 and eth2 works for now, and I'm going to keep using that. But it's good to kind of like separate these kind of concerns out here for kind of like accuracy's sake. But then I was asked as well today, it's like, okay, well, what's people going to refer to it once the merge happens? And I'm like, well, just Ethereum, right? As soon as the merge happens, there's no more eth1 or eth2, there's just Ethereum now. And all the layer 2s building on top of just Ethereum. But I think the reason why dannyryan wanted to split this out here is because Ethereum is also going to have like an application layer, I guess like existing around it, where applications from like, say, other chains or like centralized services are going to tap into Ethereum. But I wouldn't say they're part of Ethereum's application layer unless they're secured by Ethereum's consensus layer, right? So I wouldn't call that Ethereum. So I think that's why Danny put this out there for accuracy. But yeah, I think it makes sense, but I will keep referring to it as eth1 and eth2 and then just like Ethereum once the merge happens. So speaking of NFTs and CryptoPunks before, Perugia here, who owns an alien CryptoPunk actually, put out this kind of lengthy thread, so I won't read through it all, on kind of like how he learned to stop worrying and love the punks. So basically this is a nice thread going over why CryptoPunks are so valuable, why they're going to be more valuable in the future, why kind of like NFTs are valuable in general, what people are missing, right? All these sorts of stuff. And I mean, the TLDR is that he believes that we're just at the very, 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 very start of the NFT kind of like adoption phase, I guess you could call it. And to own a piece of the first ever NFTs, putting a price on that is kind of like invaluable. It's kind of like it's priceless, right? I mean, you can't really value that, and I agree with him to an extent. I mean, I only have one punk that I bought. I didn't actually even buy it. I claimed it from the contract back in 2017, and it's not rare. It's like the most common punk you can get, right? But even those are selling for like $40,000 today. But I deeply regret not buying some of the alien or ape or zombie punks, or loading up back in the day. But as I said before, I mean, they were worth nothing, and I wasn't like, I mean, this is just hindsight speaking right now. But those who did buy back then and saw the value of that going into the future have made, a pretty penny. Some people have made life-changing money from this. But yeah, definitely go recommend reading this thread. My TLDR doesn't do it justice. There's 25 tweets here, so definitely go check it out. So Argent put out a blog post today detailing their plans for basically how they plan to adopt layer 2 and like how they plan to double down on layer 1. I guess the TLDR here is that they're going to be supporting ZK rollups first on kind of like layer 2, and I think they're going to be working with zksync here. And what I really liked about this was that they're basically I guess they understand Ethereum and why we want to build layer 2. Like, we want to retain the security and the centralization properties of Ethereum, but also scale. And that's kind of what they've kind of gone through here. And they've basically detailed what they're going to be doing through their Argent wallet as well. So go read the full blog post if you want to get a better idea of everything. I'm not going to obviously read through the whole thing here. But yeah, it's good to kind of like, if you're using Argent, or if you plan on using Argent, good to get a picture of where they're at here. All right, last thing here. So Hermez Network, I've spoken about them before and about how they had their layer 2 kind of solution on testnets recently. This is a post detailing their mainnet launch here. So basically, I think, the 7th of March, they basically implemented an update into their system, which was kind of the last update that they did. They're talking about their trusted setup ceremony here, the public testnet feedback. So they're restarting the public testnet on Monday, the 15th of March, which comes with a new version called Poseidon. And then I think, I don't know, so they didn't give a mainnet date here. They just said as soon as possible. But yeah, they've teased that mainnet is coming soon. So that's just another layer 2 going live in March, potentially, right, on mainnet. That's, I mean, how many of that? Like 3 or 4 now? That's just crazy, right? I mean, March, what is it, 12th? So 28 days left of March or something like that. 18 days. Wow, that was terrible math. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, I also wanted to note on this as well. I was talking to someone before about this, but, I'm hyping up layer 2 a lot, and a lot of people in the ecosystem are as well. But we're hyping it up as if it's like a few months down the line. Like, I'm not expecting layer 2s to go live this month and suddenly get as much activity as layer 1. That's just, I don't think that's feasible. I think you might be able to achieve that with liquidity mining programs. Like, for me, the dream, and I haven't got any special information here, but I was speaking to another friend today, and I said, the dream scenario is Optimism launches with Uniswap v3 deploying to layer 1 and layer 2, right? And then Coinbase has a bridge into and out of Optimism. That is like the dream scenario. And also Uniswap puts liquidity mining on their layer 2 kind of system to get the liquidity there. If that happened, I could see layer 2 getting much more adoption, getting lots of adoption much faster than I would anticipate. Because I'm definitely, this is like a bet for the next few months that layer 2 is gonna kind of get adopted. But I don't expect like these solutions to drop and then on day one, $1 billion moves into them. Unless there's like liquidity mining, maybe. But yeah, just in general, I think it's good to temper expectations there. Just if something goes live and then it kind of takes a little while to get adopted, don't kind of fret about that. I think that we all know that layer 2, needs to happen and people want to use it. But at the end of the day, the whales are fine using layer 1 still. So to get that liquidity to layer 2, we either have to do a liquidity mining program, or we just have to wait till enough users migrate over there that the whales find it kind of like worth their time and worth their kind of like money to put their kind of capital in layer 2 to provide liquidity, to earn fees, to do whatever on there. And, as well as like safety, no one wants to kind of put $1 billion into something new unless you're like SBF from Alameda, who likes to put $1 billion into new protocols. Not many people like to do that. So it's going to be a bit of a, I wouldn't say a grind, but it's going to be a kind of like, maybe I wouldn't even say slow rollout, but like a tempered rollout. It's not going to be like an overnight success sort of thing, but we're going to get there. I'm very confident about that. So yeah, always good to keep those things in mind. All right, everyone, that's it for today. Thank you again for listening and watching. Be sure to subscribe to that channel, give that video a thumbs up, subscribe to the Daily Gwei newsletter below, join the Discord channel, and I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'll catch you next week. Thanks, everyone.